Good afternoon, everybody. Um, Please excuse the beeping noise. I'm just going to go ahead and say this now because put in a request to get my battery changed in my smoke detector, and they have not come out here yet. So you will hear this beeping. So I do apologize in advance. But thank you for visiting me. If this is your first time, if this is your excuse me, if this is your first time here, thank you for joining me. Please share, like, subscribe. Um, my name is Brian, and on this platform, my ultimate goal is to help create healing. Uh, I started this platform years ago, and then I transitioned to YouTube. So I am trying to build it up. So again, thank you for finding this video. But today, I just wanted to talk. For those of you who normally follow me, today is not one of those messages where I am wanting to do like a deep scripture vibe, because I do use scripture on this platform. But today is just another general talk. And I just want to talk about reevaluation, because a lot of people need to reevaluate how they are showing up in other people's lives. I think some people have this false sense of um, I don't know, security, advancement, this false sense of, I don't necessarily want to say grandeur, but how people are thinking they're showing up and how they are actually showing up are two different things. So a lot of people, they want to think or make themselves more important in people's lives than they are. They would like to think they are the cream of the crop. And it's time for some people to have some real conversations with themselves. Uh, because they a lot of people paint pictures, first of all, of stories and situations. A lot of people play the victim card in situations, and when they play the victim card, it's I did nothing and everybody is going against me. um, well, when you are taking that stance, what you're telling everyone else is that I don't know what to do. I don't know how um, or why people are treating me the way that they're treating me. But we have to evaluate, how are we talking? How are we um, I would even say overextending ourselves and not being able to make the commitment, right? Sometimes it's just best not to say anything. You don't have to respond to everything. And a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I have to explain what happened. And sometimes you have to hold your peace, hold your tongue. You don't have to explain anything to anybody unless it's absolutely asked. Because most of the time, people will think you explaining is an excuse. People will think that you trying to explain yourself is that you're trying to lie, or that you are thinking that you are high and mighty. And I know you can add. Why would someone think that I'm trying to be high and mighty if I'm just explaining the situation? People do that. Insecure people do that. I'm just going to put it out there. Insecure people will say, "Oh, well, this person just think that they're better than me, and they're trying to. I don't want to hear the explanation." And people. That's people opinions. I've always been the type of person, I could frankly care less of what you said about me. Like when I was a like kid, like grade school, that mattered to me. And then when I recognized that your opinions of me don't remove anything out my life, blessings, wealth, opportunity. Oh, okay. I don't care. When it starts to affect my livelihood, then that's when I'm like, okay, well, you're showing me who you are. I don't have to put up with it. I don't have to be here. I can and will remove myself. And because of that stance, I know a lot of, and that's what putting up a boundary is, people. When you can say, I am not taking this, you will not treat me, talk to me this way, uh, try to manipulate me in any way. When you put up those type of boundaries, then that's when people start to have a problem with you the most. Um, I know whenever I was in undergrad, I would have friends to call and check in, like, "Hey, are we good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why are you asking me that?" Because everybody knew that I would cut you off with no warning. And my philosophy, and it still is, that like when you have an overdue bill and the company, they give you a warning, right? They send you letters like, hey, this bill is past due, it needs to be collected by such and such a date. Hey, this bill is past due, it needs to be collected by such and such a date. You made a promise to pay and you didn't pay by such and such a date. Please call us to let us know what's going on before they cut you off. And then when you disregard those messages, they're not about to call. They don't call you and say, "Hey, we're getting ready to cut you off right now. Just wanted to let you know." Nope. They just come in and do. And that has been my stance on things. When I have addressed the situation, or when it's something to the extreme, and just as well as I know what the issue is, and you don't rectify it or try to rectify it, it is at that point that when I disconnect and when I cut off, there is no further explanation. We all know what is the problem. We all know, we all see what is the problem. And I think that when we start to reevaluate people, situations, and I would even say things, uh, because there can be certain things, um, jobs, you know, church families, functions, organizations that we may be a part of, when we start to reevaluate how those things contribute to our lives or take away from our lives, then we have to start reevaluating how we show up for those things, right? We have to start reevaluating, does this thing, do I necessarily need this thing? And I know, and I think that is the conversation. This is a sidebar. I think that is the conversation that some people that were denouncing should have had before denouncing their Greek letter organizations. And I'm just going to put that out there. And then they tried to say, God told me to leave. Um, okay, but now what? It is not your job to kind of force people to leave. It is the same as when somebody says, oh, well, I was delivered from this thing. You should be able to be delivered from this thing too, whatever that thing is. We all have a certain type of deliverance that we have pertaining to how God designed us, how our future, presentations in this world, meaning our destinies and purposes. And sometimes what you have to get rid of, somebody else may not have to get rid of. And let's just be clear on that. Just because one person was delivered from this thing don't mean that this person is suffering or dealing with the same issue of that thing. Now, if they stop doing that thing, so be it. They were able to get that rid of that thing out of their lives. But when we're talking about something that is impacting us in a way where it is not conducive for who we are, when it is starting to drain us more, that we have to disconnect. When you are a burden to someone more so than a help, baby, just understand that eventually you'll be cut off. You can't keep coming to people with problems after problems after problems after problems. And anytime they ask you for something, you can never show up. You can never hold your word. You always, it seems to be in a worse predicament than what you're asking for from someone, right? Because the scale, if we were to have a scale, it's like you are down here for what you can provide somebody and help how you show up in their lives, and this is them, right? You're always weighted down. You can never be balanced. You always have a little bit more going on in your life than someone else. You always have a little bit more you know heat and steam with you than anybody else. Nobody wants to be around that. Nobody wants to be around it. And then on another note, if someone is bringing up a problem to you, but yet you never see that you have the problem, and you just say, "Oh, well, that's that person's problem. I don't never have that problem." Babe, look at it. At least look at it. When someone says that they have a problem with how I handled something, I look at the situation and I'm like, okay, maybe I could have done something better. Maybe I could have done this another way, but this is how I did it. Let's move forward. Or how do we move forward? Right. Um, I'll tell people all the time, if I have offended you in any way, please let me know. Don't hold on to the grudge and then you try to bring it up to me 5 years down the road, because I don't know what I did. How, like, I haven't seen you in 6 months and you're telling me that I hurt your feelings 6 months ago. This is a conversation that we should have had 6 months ago, because I don't know um, the details of the situation, because it could have just been a misunderstanding on your part because you don't understand what's happening. And because you didn't bring it to me, the situation right then and there, how am I to know what I did? And so it's like you have to reevaluate how you show up, how you have an attitude, how you depict yourself in society. Because if you don't, you will always have this continual cycle of people leaving. You will have this continual cycle of disgruntled employees. Let's go into the job realm. We'll have or even in the church realm, you'll always have this reoccurrence of people leaving your church, and you're trying to understand, why are people leaving the church? I'm doing God's work and I'm doing, yes, but how are you showing up in people's lives? And then on the other side of that coin, how are you allowing people to show up in your lives? Are you allowing people to kind of still disrespect you? And I touched on this on the last video, right? We have to get to a place in our lives where we stop allowing things to happen because we have allowed them to happen before. I don't care if I have allowed you to use my personal private bathroom in the past. But you just going up and going in without asking me is a no. Like, and this is just an example. Because I do have a private and a public bathroom. Um, just so, but it's like because I let you do it that one time does not give you, oh, well, every time I come here I can just go in. No, that was a one time thing. Let's paint a picture. I may have not cleaned that bathroom. I may not have. Yes, you may have come over. You may have come over unannounced. Let's start with there. And if you come over unannounced, like my apartment may be in disarray, and now you coming into a junky house. I have not had time to clean. And then you're thinking, oh well, because Brian let me allow me to use this bathroom before, I'm going to use it again. I may not have gotten to that bathroom. I may not even know what it looked like. You don't know what type of week that I've had. And now you going in and then you like, oh, he didn't clean up. Like, and now you formulating this whole storyline in your head. Now you got this whole perception in your head. That's not true. And then you come out and then you go, oh child, let me tell you, I went to Brian's house and the bathroom won't clean and this, that, and the third. And now you're starting a rumor. Now you're starting to gossip. Now you're starting to lie and put things out that weren't true. And now we have a whole situation that could have been avoided had you stayed in place. Because when people overstep their boundaries, they begin to take things. They begin to say things. They begin to get real comfortable with other people's stuff. And then that is how people begin to say, you're only using me. I'm beginning to feel used. I'm not using you. I mean, I give you this and you give me that. Okay, but is it equal? Because how many times have you asked me for things and I've done it? And let's wait on how many times I've asked you for things and I never get it, or it's a lag, or it's a I don't know. It takes you longer to respond. Like it's always something with you. And then for me, it's always I need this done immediately. Can we get it done? Chop, chop, chop. You see, those are two different energy drains, two different energetic exchanges. That's what I want to say. It's the same as if I turn on the light comes on instantly, or if I turn on the light, the light bulb got to warm up and stuff, because we do know that there are light bulbs that do these things. The first time I ever experienced one, I was like, what's going on with this light? And they said, just give it a few minutes. It'll come on. And I'm like, okay. But that is the thing. Like, we have to recognize how we are showing up in people's lives and how we are allowing people to show up in our lives. Don't ever allow someone to get too comfortable that they feel like they can say and do anything to you or to your things or in your home or in your space. Never allow someone to think that they have that much power and influence over your life. I don't care what is happening. I don't know why I'm being led to say this, but and this is how I truly feel. I don't care what is happening in society, but baby, you don't determine my end all and be all. It is the man upstairs, as we say. And if God tells me I need that I'm going to have a thing, oh, I'm going to believe that I'm going to have that thing. I don't care what you say. I don't care what it looks like. Oh, well, baby, what? Oh, yeah. Okay. That's how you feel. That's how you believe. Okay. Well, that just means I need to take my talents elsewhere. It just means that I need to take my presence elsewhere. It means that I need to take my ideas, my thoughts, and my plans elsewhere, because you are not the fertile soil that I need in my life. You are not the appointed thing for me to connect with at this point in time. And that is okay. That is why If you want to look in the stock market, that's why people have investors. That's why investors pull out. If they no longer are seeing the vision that they signed up for, they pull out. Okay, well, we're going to take our money elsewhere. We're going to invest in another company, right? Because there's got to be some type of beneficial factor in everything. And I think I didn't get a chance to see it yesterday, but I know the news was going to run a topic on why people were leaving their jobs. They said there are massive amounts of people are leaving their jobs right now, and I don't know what the conclusion was, but I can give you my conclusion. The conclusion jobs, if you're wondering why your employees are leaving, it is because they are not feeling valued. They're not being poured into. They are not seeing a way to advance. Nobody wants to stay in the same position for years. If you do not allow someone to grow, and sidebar, this can be for personal relationships. If you don't see that your relationship is growing and that you continue to have the same cycles over and over and over and over again, every time you link up with this person, y'all go through the same thing. Y'all have the same seasons year after year after year, and there is no growth. It is time to leave. It is time to go. And so people will pack up their things and go. People are going to start leaning on their faith a little bit more on things. Okay. It is the same aspect as a child leaving their home. I cannot take living here anymore. I'm going to leave and I'm going to have my own way of living. Now, I'm not encouraging that. I'm not saying that it is often all the time the way to do things, right? But there are some stories where people have left their homes and they have turned out better than the families that they were a part of. And that was because that was a part of their purpose and destiny. And because the other side of leaving is that sometimes God will put us in these situations to see, I want to see how much you have grown. I want to see how much you're going to stay in this mess, or you're going to stand on my word and take that leap of faith, take that walk of faith, take that run of faith and get out and see what I can do for you. Sometimes that is the reason why we go through these periods and times, because sometimes we do have to cut off relationships. And I'm not talking about like I'm talking about relationships that we have had for years. Sometimes we have to cut off family members. I love you, but we can't do this no more. Every time we link up, we have this same argument. Every time it's, you know what, for the good of the family, let bygones be bygones. We don't have to deal with each other. I will love you from afar, and that is okay. Because even and I know families say, oh well, we're gonna pray about it and stuff. We gonna pray about it we can pray about it to the sun, I mean to the cows come home, as they say. But let's be real. If you are still in a healing process or in a deliverance process, however you want to say it, yeah, that means there's some things that got to be chiseled away. There's some lessons that you got to learn, but that does not mean that I have to be there and witness and go through the abuse and go through being hurt and heartbroken and going through whatever else that you could put somebody else through until you get your things together. I can exit stage left and get out of the scene. And I have done that on so many occasions, and people wonder, oh well, I thought you were doing well at this I was. And then I hit a growth spurt and I could no longer grow. And again, it takes me back to when I was at that church. I got to I grew as much as I could grow, and I had to leave. I also noticed a pattern about that within myself. I mean, I get to a certain point and I had to leave. It is the direction and the path that God has set for me. I am to do my job. Once I do that job, it's time to go. It's time for a new assignment. Um, at one point in my life, I was looking at, for those of you who remember the show Touched by an Angel, and you can find it I think you can find some episodes on YouTube or Hallmark for sure. But if you've ever seen an episode, it's almost like that. It's like, God, you had me on an assignment and now I have to leave. Okay. And that's what an assignment is. Not oftentimes is an assignment one person. It could be a whole group of things. And your assignment is not oftentimes to help other people. Sometimes your assignment is, I want you to learn this thing. And after you have learned that thing, let's go on to the next assignment. Because I think a lot of people feel like, oh, when something or someone is an assignment, that they're supposed to be giving out or doing something. No, an assignment is something that you learn. An assignment is sometimes, yes, you helping other people, but while you're helping other people, you're learning something at the same time. If it's something that you're supposed to be doing, that is what we call a task. Okay, that's not an assignment, that's a task. So you could be tasked with many things, but your assignment is going to be something different. And I think we have to get in that mode of understanding what is a task and what is an assignment. And then, okay, so our task was to be in this relationships for X amount of years. Okay. And in this relationship, we have the assignment of understanding when this person have crossed the boundary, when this person have kept me in bondage, when this person has made me almost commit suicide, then it is time for me to leave. Because now I understand, okay, the type of person that this relationship is, I cannot take it. And so when you leave that person and you go out into the world, when you find this other relationship, and I'm using it relationship loosely, um, because again, it could be a person, place, or a thing, right? Once I realized how that relationship shows up and what it does to me and how I show up in the world, now I can reevaluate the whole entire thing so that when I go on in my life, if I see this thing come up again, or I see someone, someplace, or something else that has that same spirit and energy, oh baby, I know you, for I know you. Oh, I know you. This is a familiar spirit. I understand you well. And guess what? I am not going down that road with you. And that is how you know you learned the lesson. That is how you know you passed and get what you need out of the assignment, because you can look at that thing and say, nope. And yes, it does mirror when somebody is a recovering alcoholic. They know their weakness. They know what situations will make them want to drink again. They know what places are not good for them because they will be tempted to drink. And so they stay away from those things. And guess what? That is narrowing your road. That is narrowing your scope of work, as we say in the workforce, right? And when your road is narrow, that means that's the only way that you're going to do things from here on out. That means that all the excess stuff, all the unnecessaries will be cut out of your life, and you don't need to handle it. You don't need to deal with it. You don't even have to re-speak on it unless you're giving a TED talk and giving your testimony. Okay. And so while we are thinking about reevaluation, I want you all to take into consideration everything that I spoke of. Re-listen to this message if you have to, because when you reevaluate things, what you're doing is you're getting a second opinion, what have you. You're getting a second assessment of what's happening. You're like, okay, I this is December, so I'm going to use this. It is that Santa Claus list. He's checking it twice to see who's been naughty and who's been nice. Okay. So it is that thing. Get your list out, check it twice, go into detail, as much detail as possible. Okay, now when I did this thing, this is what happened, and this is the result. Okay, now when I entered this person's home, this is what they did, and this is the result. Okay. And when you do that, I guarantee Your life is going to be much better. It's going to be much peaceful, and you're going to have less drama if you want to have tend to have a lot of drama around you. And let's be serious and clear. Okay, there's the scripture in the Bible that talks about it talks to the prophet, but I believe that this is for everybody. When you have been set, when you are doing good, and people can't accept your good for good, or they take advantage of your goodness, or they want to discredit your goodness, all you got to do, baby, you can be like Pontius Pilate and wash your hands of the situation, or you can be like that prophet and you shake the dirt off your feet at their door and you keep on moving, and you don't have to look back, because God is not one. You know what happened when Sister Girl looked back? She turned into a pillar of salt. We don't have to look back. We just keep going. We just keep going. And for those of you who want to know that reference, if you didn't get it, it's Lot's wife. And in Sodom and Gomorrah, when they were leaving the mess that was um, keeping them down, keeping them in a not so positive place. Let's put it that way. We always talk about the spiritual place, but let's talk about the physical now. They were in a wicked place. They were in an evil place where there were some things happening. They were basically in like the worst part of town. And God's like, no, I need you to leave this worst part of town, and I need you to go to somewhere better. And Lot's wife wanted to look back. Why does she want to look back? Why do you want to remember where you came from, where you know that you were not prospering, where you know that at every chance, those people would drain you? They will work you to the bone to do stuff for them, but do the bare minimum for you. Why would you want to look back and go back to that? You don't. So you turn around and you keep on moving. Okay? So thank you all for joining. I just had to share that with you. It was something that was on my heart for a long time, and I had to get some more things together. And a friend of mine actually called me right before I got on, and that confirmed everything that I was saying. And I said, I listen, I told her, I said, I was getting ready to do a live. And I said, and you called me with this situation that lets me know that this is what is needed for right now. This is the time to share this message to the world. So thank you for coming. Again, like, subscribe, and share this with those that you know need to hear this word. Thank you for coming on my platform yet again. And like I always say, again, for my first timers, don't try to be, don't think about being, don't wish and hope and pray. Just be blessed. And when you can carry that with you, when you can just carry that I am blessed coming and going, no matter what I'm doing, I'm blessed, you're going to be blessed. So thank you for joining me, and you have a good rest of your day.